Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. Today I'm going to go over a couple of the crowdfunded comics that are coming out and have come out. Some of them only have a few days left and I've gotten a little bit behind in covering these things, but I want to cover these things because these are the kind of comics that I think we should be backing, because I can see these kinds of comics being those that are created by people who listen to us, who listen to their customers. So the first one I want to look at is Lonestar, Heart of a Hero. Now, I'm always looking for the new Captain America because I really don't want to buy Marvel's Captain America anymore. And I love Captain America. And, I bought things like Fighting American, and that's what attracted me to Lonestar, to take a look at it and see what it was like. And it kind of looks like a Captain America book, but it's not exactly for me. It might be for you. It actually has some really good art. I don't know. To me, this guy's art looks a little bit like he's using a lot of 3D models and things like that, but it looks a little stiff to me. But still, it's really well done. It's really nice art, I can tell you that. And if it appeals to you, you should take a look at it. It also, however, is, if you'll see in a minute or two as I go over a couple of the panels, it is a book that has what I would call ultra violence in it. Here we have him stomping on gang members and just taking out their kneecaps, and then he breaks the guy's hands basically right back and then breaks his arms in the same way. Yeah, I would call that ultra violent. So it's not exactly my kind of thing, but if it looks like it might be your kind of thing, take a look at it, because it only has 6 days left. So that's the first one I wanted to look at. Second one is Stardust issue number 1. Now, Stardust issue number 1, it is a short horror science fiction comic. Now, when I looked at this first, I went, the art is really nice. It actually gives you a lot of story just in the art itself. It looks really good. It looks like an old 60s Man-Thing or Swamp Thing kind of horror story, and I have a few of those. It wasn't exactly my kind of thing. These things look like mind flayers from D&D. And I thought, I'm probably not going to buy it. But then take a look at some more of this art for a second. It's really, really good art. But then I went and looked at the fact that you can get this thing, a physical copy of it, anywhere in the world for $5 plus shipping. $5. So that's what you pay. I mean, if you live anywhere outside the US, you're going to have to pay shipping, and it's probably more than the $5 that you're going to pay for the book itself. But really, that's what you're paying at a comic store. And if you think that you might pick this up at your comic store, and certainly if you're in the US, it's a really good deal. And I think that I will back it. It only has, how many days does it have left? It only has 8 days left. So you only have a little bit of time if you haven't gone and taken a look at this page. I think if it appeals to you at all, and that art is really nice, then go take a look. The next one is Flying Sparks. It has 17 days left. It says, Flying Sparks, a hero and a villain in love. Now this looks like just an old style kind of superhero comic in one way. I mean, here's the description here. It says, Flying Sparks is an epic superhero story with intense relationship drama by #1 Amazon best-selling and award-winning author John Del Arrozo and acclaimed artist Jethro Morales, cover by JAWBREAKERS Lost Souls creator John Malin and Brett Smith. Now, that's the thing about this. Let's just take a look at this art. Look at this John Malin cover. That's amazing. And what it is, it reminds me of sort of what Unforgiven, I think it was, the old Clint Eastwood movie where he did a Western where he showed that it wasn't really that fun being in the Old West. This is what this looks like. You have this girl, she is testing out these gadgets for her professor and basically being a superheroine with all of these gadgets, and she's finding out that it's not all it's cracked up to be. It looks really good. The art inside looks really good as well. It looks like a good story. It's a good old science fiction kind of superhero story. You got all the science fiction gadgets, and you're paying what I think it's $25, but it looks like a really good solid story. And the thing about this as well is that this guy, he hired John Malin to do the cover, and he's also talking about here in his page, he's talking about all the other crowdfunded comic books that, if you know anything about Comicsgate, you've probably been following for the last little while. He talks about Richard Meyer's Iron Sights. He talks about Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog. He talks about Lonestar. He talks about Red Rooster. He talks about all of these comics that us over in Comicsgate have been paying attention to. And if he is willing to go after Comicsgate money, then I would say this guy, as a comic creator, is certainly going to listen to his audience and give them what they want. And so that's the kind of creator we need to be backing, and that's the kind of independent comics we need to go after ourselves. So I say back this. Yeah, I was going to do Punchline, but unfortunately, Punchline is now closed. So I'm going to have to skip by that. Now, the next one that I'm looking at here is, it is Graham Nolan's Monster Island comic and art book. Now, this thing, it's a reprint and it's a hardcover, but it looks amazing. It's a little too expensive for my taste, but it looks amazing. Look at this art. It's just an amazing looking book. You're paying, I think, $50 minimum if you want to get this thing. And it is a reprint, as I said. And as I was going on in one of my other videos, I was talking about the fact that a lot of comic companies started out just as publishing companies, and they just published old stuff that was no longer in print. And that's what this is, old stuff that's no longer in print. But this is amazing looking 70s, 60s kind of Monster Island stuff you would get out of the old Godzilla movies, kinds of things, and it looks just great. If it was in comic book format, I would be buying this. If I see this on the shelf in comic book format, I would be buying this. It doesn't matter if it's a reprint or not. This stuff just looks amazing. It reminds me kind of my old Joe Kubert kind of comics that I would find here and there and pick up wherever I could. And it has, of course, just spectacular art all the way through it, going through some of the art of Nolan here right at the end of this page. Anyways, this one has, I don't know how much time this has. I can't navigate the Kickstarter campaigns as easily as I can navigate the Indiegogo ones, just because I'm so used to the Indiegogo ones now. The next one is Public Domain Comics. So Public Domain is basically the second part of what Jungle Comics started. It's put out, I do believe, by Antarctic Press, and it is using all of the old Public Domain superheroes, because Jungle Comics is using all of the old Public Domain Jungle Comic heroes. And so it's supposed to be in a shared universe. This is the second book of that shared universe that they're going to put out. And it has all of those old heroes like Rocket Man and who's the other one that's pictured here? I think it's Black Terror. And I think from looking at the video that's here that goes with it, it looks like the Shadow's in there as well. I love the Shadow. I used to go and find old recordings of the old Shadow when the new movie came out. I think it was with Alec Baldwin. I love that. That was great. Anyways, this book is going over all of those old heroes. I do believe, what are they called? The Justice Legion. And the art doesn't look exactly as great as you might want it to look. It doesn't look as good as Kelsey Shannon's his Jungle Comics. That was the other one that came out just recently. But, you know, it's good for an indie comic. And because of these heroes, I'm going to look twice at backing this for sure. And because it's a new shared universe. You know, people are always trying to become the new Marvel, and who knows? With the way that Marvel's going right now, this may be the new shared universe that is going to actually catch. These heroes are the ones that are just, I think just last week, were put out in the #1 issue of Dynamite's, Project Superpowers. They're using the same heroes because they're all public domain heroes, so anybody can use them now. And there's a lot of good heroes and a lot of good stories that can be told with these old heroes. And I am going to certainly try and back as many of these old hero stories as possible, because the more creators we have creating more stories, and stories like these with old heroes that you can get behind and find history for, I think that's great. I think that these are the kinds of things we should back. Anyways, those are just a few of the comic crowdfunding campaigns that are on the go right now. If any of these have looked good to you, go and check them out. Like I said, some of them only have a few days left. Some of them have just started. I will leave the link in the description for all of these, plus perhaps a couple of more. And I will try and keep on top of these and keep you up to date about what is out there for us Comic Gates readers of comics, because these are the people that are going to listen to you. These are the people that are going to give you the stories that you want. These are the people who are going to actually incorporate your feedback into their comics. And I can say that quite definitively, because I did a roast of Richard Meyer's Iron Sights, and I kept on going on about how he had to really transition better between scene to scene because you couldn't figure out what the transition was. It was just really confusing. And what did he do? Well, he just told everyone on one of his videos that he actually took that advice and he's putting it into his comic so that he gives a little tag when there is a transition so that people can understand it. This is the kind of thing we need from our comic creators. This is the kind of thing we need from the people who are going to create the products that we want. They're going to listen to their customers. And some of these are great looking comics anyways that you should back just because they look like great comics and they look like a steal. Some of them, just like Stardust, that's a steal. Anyways, hopefully you find these crowdfunding kinds of videos interesting. If you did, hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment. You can put in the comments anything that I have missed or anything that you might want me to cover. I can do more of these. I don't know if anyone else actually finds these interesting. I find them interesting just because they are certainly opening us up to new kinds of comics and new kinds of avenues of where we can get comics. So like I said, hit like, hit subscribe if you want to follow these things that I am hopefully going to bring to your attention, and leave me a comment, leave me some new avenues to look for new comics as well. Anyways, I'm trying to keep it under 15 minutes, and that is enough for today. Hopefully I will see you again tomorrow. All right. I'll see you later. Bye.